Hello everyone, it's Kamla Tiwari from City International School. So now today I'm going to take the chapter on federalism. It's political science, lesson number 2, that is federalism. But before I start, I would like to extend my heartiest thanks to my director ma'am, Ma'am Sunita Gandhi, Archana ma'am, Archana Gaur ma'am, our principal, respected principal, and all the students, my school community, all the members of my school community, my student, my colleagues, who are in fact the support system through which I work. So all the characters of my school community, I can just conclude in one thought, that is, leadership is not about, it's about making every member of the team the better version of itself. And this thing applies more to Ma'am Sunita Gandhi because like she's a pro, you all know. Means ki this time we all are facing very hard time, in fact these days. But she always she has so many ideas in her mind, and sometimes I just really give a thought to that. Oh my God, how much work she does! Like from 8 o'clock, the school time starts, the online school time starts, and she is there in by 6:30. She's there until night. She's with us, taking the records, report, guiding us. So her energy level, wow, and that too to all my seniors. So now the first thing which I want to tell you is that why I choose that topic, federalism. So the thing is that the importance of federalism, it is the importance lies in power sharing. And the community in which I work, the school community, that is City International School, has given me the best example of this power sharing, that is federalism. So now what I will take today, coming to the subject, this chapter is divided, political science, democratic politics is divided into 4 parts. The first one is, what is federalism? Okay. Before that, first thing, that this is the very first time I am online. So if you people are watching me and this is not going anything wrong, you can just show thumbs up. If this is coming just as it is made. And the second topic is yes, this is the second topic, what makes India a federal country. Okay. Then, how is federalism practiced in India? And then decentralization in India. So these are the 4 topics which I am going to cover in this, that is federalism lesson. So coming to the very first topic of federalism, sorry. So coming to the very first topic, in fact there are subtopics on it. So what is federalism about? What do we call actually? What is? Okay. Fine, doesn't matter. Astha ma'am, thank you so much for your comment. Thank you. You are here to watch me. Okay. So the first thing which is coming is in your mind, what must be coming is, what is federalism actually? So federalism is what is federalism? The definition can be, it has emerged. First thing, from where the word has emerged. So it has emerged from the Latin word feudos, which means that it's a league, a group. Okay, so coming together, federalism. So basically the definition of federalism can be, it is a system of government in which the central government or the government in power distributes its power to the other constituent unit. So now the question comes, what is constituent unit? So these are the units whose provisions are made in the constitution. So in the Indian constitution, initially when it is made, so in the Indian, thank you Atul sir, yeah, Okay. So I was talking you about this topic of federalism. So what is federalism? I told you that it is the when the central government distributes its power among the constituent units. So what is constituent unit? The constituent unit means the provisions in the constitution about how many units should be there. So basically, there are two units. Initially, there are two units. When the constitution was made, the provision was of two units only. So the two units are in our country, it is the central government that we call as union government and the state government. Fine. So afterwards, there was this third provision added to it that we will cover next. Okay. So have you understood this is federalism? Okay, so there are in our country right now there are three tiers of government. The three tiers of government are the government at union government, the state government, and the local government. Fine. So I told you that initially there was provision of only two government. So when we are looking in broader sense, there are two kind of groups now made. Okay, the government which share its power and the government which doesn't share its power. So the government which share its power with other units, they are called federal type of government. And the government which does not share its power, they are called as unitary type of government. Okay, so unit means one. Okay, so unitary means there is only one level of government, and if there is any chance of any other, like because of the size, large size, there is another subsequent or subordinate unit of that country. So what will happen? It will be always under the control of central government, union government. The union government will guide it, and that unit will always be answerable to the central government. Okay, whereas in federal government, the central government, that is union government, gives liberty. To some extent they give the liberty, okay, autonomous power to the state government to have its own jurisdiction, legislation, taxation. Okay, many things are there. I will cover it in as I will cover the lesson, I will cover that also. So this way there is a division. Okay, so example, let us take with the example of unitary government. The example of unitary government is sorry, the phone was coming. Example of unitary government is China. Okay, so in China what happens? Whatever decision is taken, it is taken at one level, and that all the units follow the same decision. Okay, throughout the country the same thing happens. Whereas federal government, you can take the example of India. Fine. Now next thing which I would like to take. So I am very much sure that you must have understand the difference between unitary government and federal government. Okay, now the next thing is features of federalism. How can we just note that whether this is federal government or other one is not a federal government? So what are the common characteristics? As what other characteristics we will study about, what are the other characteristics. So the first feature, okay, so I think I'm becoming monotonous. So the first feature which I have introduced, through which I have introduced the lesson, was that it has, can you tell me in written, by writing? So what is the essential feature of federalism? How we will know that this is federalism? Any answers? I'm waiting for the answer. I can see the comment of Bharti Rai ma'am, and she's saying that such an important topic to be discussed at the time when we are working together. So it's very important also. And in fact, this is the reason why I have chosen this topic. Okay. So my student Tushar Bhatt is giving the answer. Okay, Tushar, you are right. That the first feature is that it should have more than one level of government. It can be two, it can be three, depends. Okay, but the thing is that it is Okay, yes, Archana ma'am is saying that power sharing indicates federalism. Yes, federalism, like where we are sharing, the government is sharing the power, okay, with the other unit. So it is a form of power sharing only, okay. Uh, Yes. So the first feature which we have discussed is that it should have more than one level of government. Okay. Now the second characteristic. The second characteristics, what is the second one? So it says that the citizens are same. Okay. But they are being governed by the government at different levels. So the same citizen is governed by different levels of government. Like for example, I am Kamla. I live in Lucknow. Fine. So what happened? I am being like the individual residing in Lucknow. My all the rules and regulations and the facility which I get is from municipal corporation, Lucknow. Okay, Nagar Nigam. Then what happened? That I will also follow the rules and regulations which are to be made by the state government, because I am also living in UP. My area comes in UP, and being the citizen of India, I will also follow the rules and regulations which are to be prescribed or set by the central government, union government. Yes. So this way, like I am the same person, but I am being controlled by how many bodies at the same time? By three bodies. Okay. So now the third level will come. The third feature will be them. You must be thinking that if three people are controlling me or thinking about my it's not about controlling. Okay. It's about like thinking of the well-being also. So if three government is thinking about my well-being, then there should be some conflict among them. Okay, that this is my subject of concern, or that is my subject of this one concern. But it doesn't happen. You know why it doesn't happen? Because now the third feature of this is that the jurisdiction is specified. Jurisdiction word refers to the legal authority. Who has got the legal authority? So there are three things on which this jurisdiction is specified. First thing, on legislation. Legislation means making law. So who will make law regarding which subject? It is specified. Okay. The second thing is administration. Who will administer me? I will follow whose rule? That is also specified. Where it is specified? In the constitution. And the third one, in fact, is taxation. To whom I will pay the tax? So that is also decided, okay, in prior. Now where is these things written? These things are already written in the constitution. Okay, that which work will be done by which one, which of the government. Fine. So this is called as jurisdiction, matter of jurisdiction, and that is the third feature. Now the fourth feature says that the basic structure of the constitution, the whatever is said in the constitution cannot be changed by any one level. Okay, it cannot be changed. The basic structure of the constitution cannot be changed. And if there is, suppose by anyhow the conflict comes between the state government and the union government, then it will be decided by, it will be it can be done only, it can come or it can change by the consent, the common consent of both the group, that is the state government and the union government. Understanding? Okay. Now the next thing is that who will decide that whether everything is going well or not. So the court has got the power of interpreting what is written in the constitution. Okay, so the conflict may be arising because of any issues, that this conflict be under the jurisdiction of the courts. The courts will decide that what is the best thing, and the government has to follow the decision of the courts. It acts as an umpire, in fact, between the game, like governing system. The court acts as an umpire. And the last one is taxation. From where the government will get the money, that is also fixed. Okay, so like if you receive any bill, okay, you go to a restaurant, you purchase something, you must be receiving a bill. In that bill, two kind of taxes are clearly written. One is CGST and the second one is SGST. So CGST refers to the tax which we have paid to the central government, whereas SGST refers to the tax which we have paid to the state government. Okay, so these are now there is that what is the essence, why do we do this federalism, why it is there. Okay, so there is dual objective of this federal system. Dual objective, what is the meaning, like dual objective? First thing, that the union government has divided itself, has divided the whole country into different constituent unit, that is state. So there is no separatist movement. Every state is just thinking that okay, I am necessary part of India. Okay, so they are not feeling themselves alienated or aloof. That is why they have come and joined. Okay, and they work according to like whatever has been prescribed in the constitution, what has been written in the constitution. The second thing is that, so what happens, that unity is maintained. First thing, unity of the country, and second thing, diversity of the country is also maintained, because the central government gives the power to the state government, so hence the diversity can also be maintained, as different state has different culture, so they can take the decision accordingly. This much understood? Okay, you can just show me by raising the thumbs or writing any comment that whether I am audible or the things are going on well. Very okay, Shilpi is there, Tushar I can see, Ma'am Archana I can see. Okay, now coming to the next topic, federal structure. So there are two kind of federal structure which we follow. The two kind are coming together federations and holding together federations. So what are actually coming together federations? Look, in a country, in every country there are various units. Okay, so Astha ma'am, thank you so much. So in a country there are various constituent units. So if every constituent unit has got equal power, okay, so that will be an example of coming together federation. These federations or these units have joined that in as a common. Okay, so there is like no we can say difference in sharing of the power. Thank you ma'am Sunita. Yes. I'm overwhelmed. All my friends and my colleagues and my seniors are looking at me. Having a great feeling right now. So, okay, coming back to the topic that when subsequent units are there and they are coming and holding equal power. Okay, so that will be the example of coming together federation. Like I give you example, America, USA, we say USA, United States of America. Okay, so it has many units. So the common names which we know, Georgia, Florida, Washington, Texas, California, Alaska, these all the names. So they have combined together, come together, and they are holding the country. So in this way they are coming together, and what happens that each of the units are having the equal power. Nobody is, and why they have come together, what is the objective? To strengthen themselves, to be in order to enable themselves to become more powerful. Okay, so for a better purpose they have come together so that they can work better. So countries, you can take example of Switzerland, Australia, USA. These all are example of coming together federations. Now second one, holding together federation. Holding together, as you know, hold is coming. The word hold. Keep on like you just concentrate on this holding together federation. So holding, who is holding? The country is holding. Okay, so like in our constitution, what is the name of India? Let's become it's going monotonous. Let's say what is the name given to India? We call it as Union of States. Okay, India is, according to the constitution, India is a union of states. Fine. So we are a union, and then what happens that we have come together. Who is holding? The country itself is holding. Means earlier we were one unit, and then for the making the working more efficient, it has been divided into various constituent units. So right now, how many states? My question is that how many states and how many union territory India has present, like on 15th April 2020? May I have the answer, please? I'm waiting for your answers. Anybody? Try it out. It's a class only. It's an on Google class, or sorry, it's a Facebook live class, so you can just try it out. No worries at all. I will not take the name. Okay. Thank you, Shalini ma'am, for your comment. Okay. Ashok is saying that there are 28 states and 8 union territories. Fine. Thank you so much. Tushar is saying 28 states, 9 union territories. And any other answers? Shall I wait or shall I disclose? Okay. So in this, Ashok was right. Okay, Aparajita is saying 28 states, 9 union territories. Fine. Let me give you the final answer. The answer is 28 states and 8 union territories, not 9 union territories. Let me clear myself how. Okay, initially there were 29 states in India. So Jammu and Kashmir has been reduced to the status of union territory. So the state becomes 28. Very simple. Now how many initially we had the union territories? We had 7 union territories. Okay. Then Ladakh was added as an union territory, and then Jammu and Kashmir. Fine. So it makes 9. But recently on 26th January 2020, a new bill has been passed according to which Daman and Diu and Dadar and Nagar Haveli, this will come under one constituent unit. Very recently it has been done. Okay. So on 26th January 2020 itself. So hence and 8 union territories only. Okay. So we were talking about, anyways, it was nice. So many are writing 28 states and 9 union territories not updated. Please see Wikipedia. Keep in touch. Okay. So next thing. The next thing is that, so we are an example of holding together federation. Okay, so what is holding together federation actually? So holding together federation, where we were initially one unit which has been divided into various units. So here what happens in coming together federation, each unit were equal. Here the central government is more powerful. The union government is more powerful. It has the power to hold, and the powers are distributed to the state according to their requirements. Some states are big, some states are small, some are newly created states. Okay, so we divide the power like the resources. If we talk about the budget, there are states like Maharashtra, Gujarat, bigger in size, they get more of the budget. Okay, so this is like how the power is shared. Then if we talk about the culture, so we have northeastern states like for example Nagaland. So the state gives them liberty, the union government gives them liberty to preserve, protect their culture. The union government cannot intervene in the term of religion over there. So depending upon the requirement, the powers are cut or given or extended. Okay, anyway it can happen. So here the basic difference is in the coming together federation, all the units were equal, and here the units are unequal. They are having more or less power. It depends upon the conditions, circumstances, and the central government has more authority. Okay, this one. Now, so I think I was very much clear with this. Now, how is federalism practiced in India? Fine. I have prepared a short like interactive game. Just tried it out. So please listen to this very carefully, because the game will be there. Many of my relatives and friends have joined. I'm overwhelmed. Thank you so much. Okay, now how is federalism practiced in India? So I was telling you about, there was a word which came, jurisdiction. Okay, so it is written that which thing will be seen by which government. Okay, so this is called as, we are having a list system in the constitution, and it is 3 lists. 3 lists are there in the constitution. The union list, one, the union list, second one, the state list, and then the concurrent list. Okay, in fact a very short means extended thing is there that I will discuss with it. So what is union list? The union list basically it takes all the subject which should be common to all the people. Okay, irrespective of the area, irrespective of the diversity which we have, it should be followed commonly by the people, and the subject are common. Suppose the subject we take as currency. Okay, currency, defense, communication, foreign affairs. These are the subjects which are seen by the union list, that is there in the union list and subject to the union government. Okay, so basically when we are talking about this, let us take example. Let us take the example of currency we were talking about. So right now, if in UP 2000 note is not valid, it is not working. Okay, so what will happen? The same 2000 rupees note will not work in Karnataka. Same will happen to Orissa. Okay, because it will create a problem. That currency will create a problem if it will be used in one state and not in the other. So there should be a common policy. Now who will control that? Obviously the union government will control that. Remember the time? Okay, demonetization. Oh. Okay, so the union government will take that. Fine. Railways. In fact, Aparajita is also giving one more example. Then next thing, coming to this, and one more example I could give you, defense. Suppose the defense is given to the state government. That subject is given, and there is a liberty to every state to maintain the army and defense unit of its own. What will happen? We will just try to, what we will be doing? We will be doing what we will do? We will just start fighting. The states will start fighting among themselves also. Yes or no? No. So there should be something common. The common law should be made regarding these subjects. Fine. Now switching on to the state list. What are the state lists? State lists, you know that the condition terms of every state differ from each other. The size, the population, the resources of the state, everything differs. Fine. So we can have it like everything. We can just control those things by our own. The state can handle itself. It has like authority on those matter. So what are those methods? Those subjects. Those subjects are, it can be police. Okay. So you must have heard different police, different states, commerce, agriculture, health. So these are the issues, fine, of a state, which can be dealt according to the ability of the state. And the union government does not have a say to it. Then comes the concurrent list. What are concurrent lists? Concurrent lists are the list whose subject of concern are seen by both the union government as well as the state government. Fine. So like for example, forest land are seen by the union government. It is the subject of union government also and the subject of state government also. Both sees that. Suppose marriage, all the families law, in fact, okay, marriage, divorce, succession, adoption, all comes in this concurrent list. And there is one more important subject which I would like to just focus on, that is education. So education, now the question will come, I know, like many of my students, when I used to teach them, they ask me this common question, that ma'am, why education is in the this concurrent list? Earlier it was in the state list only, but during emergency time it was changed and it was taken by, yes, in fact, Neeta Sinha ma'am is saying that it is controlled by both state list, and yes, I am telling the same. Education was earlier, initially it was under the state government, but at the time of emergency imposed on India, it was taken in the concurrent list, shifted to the concurrent list, because then the need came that education should be given more priority. So seeing the priority, taking education as the basic necessity of human, Indian government decided to shift that from state list to the concurrent list. Okay, so we all know better, all of us know about the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan going under the central government, taken by the central government. So this is all about concurrent list. So basically we have three lists: the union list, the state list, and then the concurrent list. Then there was something which was not made, that in that system something was missing, which at that time did not existed, and now it is in more and more use. What is that? Any guesses? Any guesses? Sorry. Okay, there is one query. Saroj Lohani ma'am is asking that are there any subjects that are handled by both the central as well as state government? In fact, we were talking about the concurrent list. Concurrent list, this forest come in concurrent list, the marriage, adoption, succession, education, all this comes under the concurrent list. Fine. So now we are having like one thing which was missing, and that was software. Okay, computer software, not at that time, but now it is in like we are connected to that only nowadays. So it was technology, computer software, e-commerce. Fine. So all the technological things, like it is not existed at the time of when the constitution was framed or this list system was made. So this come under residuary. This is called as subject of residuary. And who looks after that? Who governs these subjects? These subjects are under the control of union government. Okay, so they have direct handling of these subjects. So now coming to the this activity, I have made few cards. I don't know why it is showing this screen. I don't know, but I can read out and you can tell me that which government it will be coming, which list it will be coming after. Okay, this is which I tried. So the first thing which I have made was local government. Local government, it is written as local government, it is showing you the mirror image maybe. So local government, yes, local government, which list system it belongs to? Your chance, please. Waiting for the answer. Local government under which list system? Okay, there was some technical problem. It was telling to resume. I have done that. Okay, fine. Anybody answer me, please? I have shown the card of local government. So local government come under which list system? I am asking in the question, list system. This is the activity should be interactive. Just try out local government. I told you initially there were only 2 levels of government. Anybody? Local government. Okay. Saroj ma'am has given the answer. That is first one. Okay, it's very correct. State government. Okay. So the answer will be state government. Now the next one is, I mentioned it, you must be knowing, forest. Forest, the next card is about the forest. So forest comes under union list, state list, or concurrent list. Waiting for the answer, please be quick. Anybody trying out? Anybody trying out? Okay, so the forest comes under concurrent list. Fine. Now airways it is written. Can anybody tell airways come under which list system? Union list, state list, or this concurrent list? Airways. Waiting for the answer. Answer please. Be interactive. The answer will be right or wrong. No problem at all. At least we will come to know. Okay, Ashok Tiwari has given the answer and it's correct. That is under union list. Thank you so much, Ashok ji. Next is land. So land comes under which system? Which list system? Land. Land. I know it's the subject is tough, but land. Any answers to that? Land comes under state list. Okay. Then this is clear. I think everybody can tell. War and peace. Who will decide about war and peace? The matter of war and peace. Who will take decision? Now this I am like I think you can give. War and peace. Please. Please be participative, more participative. My friends, my colleagues, all the people seeing me, my students in fact. War and peace is a subject of concern of war and peace. Answer, war and peace. War, peace. Any answers? Waiting for the answer. Okay, war and peace is a subject. Rightly said, it is the subject of union list, but obvious. Okay, one last we will try out. Okay. Okay. Would you like to have more? Maybe. You people are writing the answer. Tushar, thank you so much. Harsh, thank you so much. Aparajita, thank you so much. Okay, one more. Just try it out. Foreign affairs. I told you, foreign affairs. One more. Foreign affairs. I have made so many of them. But I think it will go out of time if I will try all that. So one last, foreign affairs, please. And last one more. Two I will try it out. So foreign affair. Okay, foreign affair is a subject of union list. Okay, and the last one, cyber law. Cyber law we were talking about. That is something very important. Cyber laws, it is under the jurisdiction of whom? Okay, cyber law comes under residuary. Fine. So now switching on to the next, so this is clear. I think this must be clear about the list system, how federalism is practiced in India. Now the next on to which we will move is like what makes India a federal country. Okay, and how it is like federalism. I told you that the whole country gets divided into various constituent units. So what is basically the structure, like how the country has been divided? I just mentioned that there are 28 states, 8 union territories. So how we have been made, like what was the division? So accordingly, like you know that at the time of independence, there were somewhat about 580 princely states, 586 near about. So at that all has to be reconsolidated. Okay, so again reconsolidation, redistribution. So this task was given to State Reorganization Commission. Okay, and according to the report which was set up by given by the State Reorganization Commission, the states of India at that time it was divided, and there were 14 states made. Initially 14 states were made and 6 union territories were there. Fine. So this were given like on what basis it was divided. The basis was on linguistic lines, the language which was spoken by the people. Fine. So we were divided. Initially the basic structure was on the basis of language. Like example, there was a vast state of Bombay. So the region, the Bombay state, were having two kind of people: the people who were speaking Maharashtrian language and the people Marathi language, that is we call, and the other one was Gujarati. So in 1960, that again was distributed among two states. That was two states were made out of that Bombay state. That was Maharashtra and Gujarat. Fine. So same way, but not all the states of India are divided on linguistic line. There are various other states which are divided on maybe cultural basis, geographical units. There are variety of divisions, but basically we stick to linguistic division. Then, as you know, like we are of the contemporary time, we have seen the division of UP being divided into Uttarakhand and UP, then MP divided into Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, and the recent one is Telangana. Okay, so it is like it also tells that our constitution is a living document. It changes according to the requirement, it changes according to the aspiration, the dreams, and the requirement of the society. Fine. So we came to know that what was the basis of division. The basis of division was initially language. So coming to language, what is the language policy of India? Now this is the time we should become more interactive, because everybody must be interested in that. So my question to you is that, is Hindi our national language? Is Hindi our national language? Answer. Is Hindi our national language? Absolutely. Hindi is not our, English is our mother tongue. English is a foreign language to us. Our mother doesn't speak and we haven't learned. Okay. So this is like this way it happens, that what is the language policy of India. So accordingly, like when it was, okay, it came back. So now I'm fine. So I was telling you that Hindi is not the national language. Okay. So why Hindi is not the national language? The reason being that Hindi is not even not even 50% of the population speaks Hindi. Only near about 43%. Don't go. Okay, it came back. Net issues. Fine. So some net issues are coming. Anyways, I will try to finish up the topic very quickly so that it can be sorted out. Okay, so Sumita ma'am, thank you so much. Nice to see you. Okay, so Hindi is basically our mother tongue, and apart from Hindi, there are 21 more official languages which has been considered as the official language of India. So in all, the scheduled language of India are 22. Okay, Hindi being one of them. So the government has given the not even knowing to read Hindi, not even knowing to write Hindi. So there was a problem, they were facing problem in fact, and the government just took it positively, and hence English is continued as one of the official language. Okay, it's coming. So net issues, lot of issues are there. Anyway, we are able to connect back. Fine. So I was telling you that there are 22 scheduled language, and this way it works. That we can give the examination in 23 languages depending upon the population, depending upon what the population of the state wants. Okay, what is the priority, what language they speak, they could read and write. This is all the priority of that thing. Fine, that, and they can just go for that language. Whereas it also means that suppose in UP the examination is given in like one, you can give in, that is the official language. How many official language we have in UP? We have 3. One is English, one is Hindi, and then Urdu is also given the status of co-official languages. Okay, so any person who has applied over here and wants to give the exam in Urdu can also give the examination. That is the difference. But any person who is living in West Bengal cannot give the examination in Hindi. Okay, because their official language is English and Bengali. This way it works. So we have been with lot of choices, but then Hindi is the language which is spoken by most of the people of India. That is, it is the major speaking language. Major of the people speak Hindi language. So I told you near about 43% of the people speak Hindi language. So reconsidering it Hindi language, so the government has to protect Hindi language, preserve Hindi language. So there are various programs made by the government, various decisions taken, like 14th of September every year we celebrate Hindi Divas. Hindi Divas, in order to protect, in order to preserve, in order to more and more people will be able to speak Hindi. In this way it works. Okay, so this is our language policy. India does not have any national language. We have 22 official language. Again, diversity works and the government tries to maintain the unity. Now, the last which I will tell you is about decentralization. That what is decentralization? Decentralization is just opposite to centralization. Decentralization means when the authority, when the power of the the central government and the state government is taken and given back to the local government. Okay, so when local government did not existed initially in the constitution, it has been brought by the government again by an amendment made. Okay, 1992, 73rd and 74th amendment. 73rd amendment give recognition to panchayats and 74th amendment gives recognition to the urban authority, that is municipal corporation. So this way, when the power is taken from the central government and the state government and given to back to the local government, that is called as decentralization. So in just telling you about in 1992 what the government did. There were certain policies forwarded by the government in order to make like decentralization more effective. So in yes Preeti ma'am, my net is going slow. Some problem is there, then also I am just fighting out. We all are fighters at this time. So now this one we were talking about what were the policies. So first thing, the government made mandatory that there should be elections for the local government at every 5 years of interval. So it was made mandatory. The second one was that the local government should be able more and more reservation policy will be followed, and scheduled caste, scheduled tribes will be given reserved seats in this election of local authorities. Then third one third of the position will be holded by the women reservation. Reservation it speaks about, it was made mandatory that women reservation will be given. And then there is a special body made known as State Election Commission, which is which sees to that elections are conducted free and fair in the local bodies. And lastly, some share of taxation, some share of revenue has to be shared between the state government and the local government. Now coming to the structure of the local government, there are two types of local government, one in urban and one in rural areas. Urban areas, let us take first the rural areas. Okay, the timing is running short, I will try to wind up things very quickly. So rural areas, the panchayat system works in rural areas. Panchayat system itself is a 3-tier system. Basically, all the villages are having Gram Sabha. All the elderly member of the villages are the members of the Sabha. And those people who are like 18 and above, they are the members of Gram Sabha. They elect the panchayat. Okay, it can be one village, it can be more than one village depending upon the population. So these villages they just distribute themselves into wards, 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 which we see in hospital. You can just go relate things, wards. Okay, so these wards are again divided into these wards are divided, and the people living in that particular ward elect their member. Okay, the candidate which they want to see, and these are known as panch. Then there is one sarpanch, head of the panchayat, who is again an elected person from this is panchayat, basic unit, gram panchayat. Okay, then many gram panchayat sums up and they form samitis. We call it as like block samiti, mandal samiti. So the upper level of that gram panchayat is the block samiti, mandal samiti, or just gram samiti, panchayat samiti you can call. Then, and who all are the members? The elected members of the panchayat are the members of this mandal samiti. Then above that mandal samiti lies the Zilla Parishad. Zilla Parishad is again the election is there among the mandal samitis and all, and the people Parishad. So what happens itself, it is a 3-tier system. On the top there is Zilla, Zilla divided into blocks, block divided into villages. Okay. Same way there are things going on in the cities. Cities have urban government. In big cities we have, okay, yeah. So again we were talking about urban government. So again itself it's a 3-tier system. In big cities we have municipal corporation, in small cities we have municipal council, and then we have for towns we have nagar panchayat. Okay, so just talking about the municipal corporation, same way it works. The whole of the city is divided into wards. Wards elect their parshad, and then in few, like it is like mayor election varies from place to place. Somewhere it is elected by the parshads only, and somewhere by all the people living in that area, okay, falling in that area. This is the 3-tier system of urban bodies. Now what is the motto? Why we have created this local self-government? The local self-government has been created so to make the work more effective, because a person sitting in Delhi never come to know what is happening in a small village of Lucknow. So what will happen? We are answerable to ourselves. Okay, so again it will depend, the condition will depend how much participative we are. It is made, this decentralization is made in order to just engross more and more people, okay, in the system. So this is more effective when people participate. Okay, and now just ending to the session, I just want to end with this, that participation of the people. Okay, so this all system decentralization the government has done. The government is fighting a lot at every level, central level, state level, local level, against the disease which is spread. And it's our duty in fact to remain at home and become a strong supporter of the government here at every level. We should cooperate with the government so that we can discard it. We will help us to eradicate this disease from the society very soon. And in fact, like, this was a immense pleasure to me taking this kind of class, and I will just keep on doing so if ma'am allows, and I will also try to do it on my individual basis. But then again it's like I am very much surprised, okay, this can be done, and I'll try it in future, coming future. You can, if I can just see how many people like, and then if it is in a positive way, I would like to extend this kind of class depending upon your comments which you will give me. So initially I was telling you about that, please stay at home, remain staying, that because this is the only thing which will work, and social distancing will work. And social distancing is only physical distancing. Terminate the last moment I want to capture, I don't want this. So this is only physical distancing, you know, it's not about emotional distancing. There is technology today, we can just connect to anybody at any place. So I am like connecting, and I was feeling like how I will be able to do that, and I have done. And this is like what I promise to all my friends, my people, the people around me. I hope I kept my words. See you soon. Bye.